Hi there, this is Chloe from Inner Whispers. Because the Book of Thoth Etteilla Tarot, which I got last week, turned out not to be the deck that I was actually expecting, based on having read this book, I went out and got another version, which is the Grimaud version of the Grande Etteilla Egyptian Gypsy Tarot. I've been reliably informed, thank you Kathleen Matthews, that this is a more authentic version of Etteilla's deck, so hopefully it will be good enough for my purposes. Fingers crossed. So we have the Grande Etteilla here, or Etteilla, and I also have the cards from the Book of Thoth Etteilla deck over here, so that we can compare and see the differences and the similarities in all regards. So let's break into this one first. As I say, this one is published by Grimaud in France, and it has what looks like the judgment card on both sides of that. Inside the cards are loose, and they have this rather kind of 70s inspired green swishy back, which is fully reversible, very different from the more understated Book of Thoth backs. And there's a little white book which, okay, has some associations between the tarot number, the zodiacal sign, the origins in terms of the Bible, and the elements, as well as things for the court cards, corresponding cards, and different methods of reading. So the 3 steps, Jacob's ladder, the columns, the crucible. So there's definitely a lot more information in here. It is the entire, okay, no. So I think half the deck, half the book is in English and the other half is in French. So you get 50% of the booklet rather than 1/20 of the Le Scarabeo little white book. So it has some interesting looking spreads in there, columns, Jacob's ladder and what have you, as well as, for example, the High Priest represents marriage or a love affair with its ups and downs. Right way up, reversed. I'm not quite sure what I and N are, so I'll have to have a look at that in more detail. In any case, I do have a larger book on the Etteilla Egyptian Tarot. This one. So, let's take a look at the cards. So straight away we see they are really very different in their depictions, which is why I needed to get this second deck. Like I needed another deck, I know. Anyhow, the reason why I was originally drawn to these more was because I like the colour palette more, and also, you know, there are huge white borders here, along with the various symbols and so forth. However, I did want to get to these real images, or these particular images. So we have the querent and sage words, wisdom and ideal, which on this one doesn't appear, it just says the chaos, but it does say it is the questioner or the male consultant. So there are a few additional things, like here there's a little astrological sign, which we don't have on here, and it doesn't tell you which one is reversed and not, but you do have the Grimaud here, so that will always show you which is which. Then we have, this looks like the sun, actually it's called Enlightenment, and once again we have a very tarot sun-like image here with 2 little children and kind of a sun, kind of a star, but then hey, the sun is a star, so that works. And it will also look more interesting reversed, because this deck is very much intended to be used with reversals. Then we have, okay, this is very different. It may be that these are in a different order, So this is discussion, instability, whereas this is plants. Then we have, so this is very moon-like. Then we have, here we have the heavens. Here we have revelation and behavior, which looks kind of like a star card. You know, we have the figure pouring water. So these are both the stars, I think, just that these have different names on them. This one, both of them have it as travel, number 5. So I think that the associations are the same, just they have very different images. Secrets. This is the stars one on this deck, and that was heaven. So secrets and truth. This one says night and day. Very different. Support in both of these, and protection. This one gives the name of the birds and the fish. This one doesn't tell us that, but we do see it very clearly in the image also. Tenacity. Here it's called rest, and it's the female consultant. They agree on that one. Justice. Temperance, and here, yes, a very different image. Here we have, I'm not sure at all what she is holding in that hand. That one is a cup, but what on earth is that? If anyone has an idea, it looks like a stirrup or a teeth extractor, or I really don't know what. Whereas this one is the more traditional temperance angel with a sun at the forehead, as you have in the Rider-Waite deck even, pouring between the cups. And interestingly, 1 foot on a ball and 1 foot on a triangle, I guess, representing the way that temperance in the Rider-Waite has 1 foot on land and 1 foot in water. So that's interesting. Then we have strength, dark lion, light lion. And in this one we have more of this, either an outside or a sort of black and white flooring. We have prudence, and in both there's the snake element. In this one she has the mirror, which I quite liked as a touch, and the book. Different things. Marriage or union and the high priest. The devil. This one's rather more Rider-Waitey as well, or also similar to the Marseille. And here we have this figure that looks so much like the magician. It is in fact the magician, but associated with illness and sorrow, so a very negative card in this deck. Then we have Judgment, and here I don't like the fact that they don't actually give you the name Judgment, which it obviously is, or the magician. This one is better in that regard of actually giving you the name rather than just the number, which, considering his numbering is completely different to any other deck, it would be kind of handy, but I guess they thought the keywords were enough. I don't know. I do prefer this for the titles, but it is what it is. They have very different images, and I wanted these pictures. Here we have Death, the Hooded Man, the Hermit, also a negative card, the Lightning Struck Temple, kind of tower equivalent, the Wheel of Fortune. This one has more echoes of the Rider-Waite and the Marseille. And the African Despot, once again very chariotesque. So then we move into the, oh, let's just check out. So I'm guessing that the Fool will be at the back, yes, because Etteilla does actually label it card 78. So here we have the 2 Fools. Also quite different. This one has a little animal at the back, more similar to something we've seen before. and pouch over the shoulder, rather than being a more medieval jester type figure. Anyhow, let's move on. I'm not going to look at all of these in detail, just a little bit of a comparison. So here we have the King of Wands, the Queen of Wands, the Knight of Wands, and the Page of Wands. I have to say I do like this one a lot better. And then this is the biggest difference. Oh, they've got them so the other way around. So starting with the 10. These ones were just very plain pips. With these ones you have this interesting and different symbol or design, nails, circles, strange things at the bottom. So once again, it does make it very much more obvious when the card is reversed or upright, whereas on this one it actually has upright and reversed written on it so that it is clear, because otherwise you really wouldn't have a clue, or not much of a one, until you got to know it very well, because there is a little bit of difference in the leaves and so forth there. So this is the biggest difference perhaps between these two decks. So let's just go through those quite quickly. Rejoicing with the 8. Yeah, once again, it would be useful to have the number on it, but hey, you can see it, it's just, you know. And yes, these very curious nails. 4, contract arrangement, and they're in a nice little box, the foundation idea. 3, enterprises. 2, suddenly we have a landscape, sorrows, 2 of wands, and the ace. Once again, very different, though the keywords are the same pretty much. Not quite. This one is called shoot, which means fall, and this one is bankruptcy, whereas this one, they're both birth upright. So once again, quite different images between the King of Cups and the King of Cups here. This one is doesn't have the words blonde man, it has probity instead, but he is actually blonde, so in terms of using it as a significator, you have more to go on visually for that. Instead of it being the blonde lady, this is a woman above reproach, or a dissolute woman on the reversed. Arrival stays the same for the knight, and a studious boy rather than just a blonde boy, and he isn't blonde in this one, so that's a change. Then if we look at the 10 of Cups, once again there's this great difference between the upper and lower. Here there's nothing on the yellow bits. I think for the whole suit of cups it's just a yellow box, except for right towards the end, and yes, very different to that. So we might bother with those. So we have 10, which is home, 9, success, a sincere girl, ideas for the 7, matches. The past for the 6 also matches with the kind of rider-waite idea of the past. 5 is inheritance, which is quite different, and a parent reversed, or a relative. Yes. Boredom for the 4, relief for the 3, which, you know, if you're partying or supported by others, that gives you a bit of relief. And here we have the 2, once again actually illustrated, and the ace. Next we have the swords chords, which is a man of law or a wicked man once again. Widowhood for the queen, matching rider-waite ideas. A soldier for the knight, and the spy for the page. And once again, we have our yellow box, empty, I think, throughout the suit of swords as well, with the 10 being sorrow, 9 celibacy, 8 criticism, rather than necessarily self-criticism or trapped ideas. 6 is expectation, 5 to take steps, that should be. 5 is loss, 4 is solitude, like a rest, yeah. 3 detachment, 2 tenderness, that's very different. Deceit reversed though. And 1 is excess or pregnancy. And finally we have the King of Pentacles. Is a businessman rather than a brown-haired man, but his beard is brown. And a rich woman rather than a brown-haired woman, but at least her hair is, well, it's kind of purple actually, but hey, we'll let them off. Profits instead of utility for the Knight of Pentacles. And a studious boy rather than a brown-haired boy for the Page of Pentacles. And here we have very strange pentacles. They don't look anything like sort of coins. They're these pink circles with different shapes in them. And we have a lot of strange symbolism perhaps in the yellow reversed section. So once again, such a huge difference between the pips type pentacles over here and these cards here. We have home for the 10 of Pentacles, fulfillment for the 9, a pleasant girl for the 8, money for the 7, surroundings for the 6, lover for the 5, present for the 4, fame for the 3, difficulties for the 2, or a letter if it's reversed, and there's Hermes, the messenger, and profound happiness for the 1. So, as I say, some very different cards there, very different in the way that they're portrayed, also very different in terms of the keywords that they have. Some are so very similar to Rider-Waite and other traditions, and others are totally somewhere else. We have lots of astrological kind of symbolism here, as well as more mythological perhaps. So yes, a lot to delve into in the symbolism of these cards perhaps. In terms of the card stock, it's just barely holdable in a single hand. Shuffles fairly well. Riffles nicely too. So yes, the card stock is pretty decent overall. They are a little on the thick side, but not excessively, and they do feel quite durable with funny green backs. Let's do a little more. And the Ace of Cups, a party. Well, I am going out with a friend tonight. Not quite a party, but, well, it's a girls' night out. Blessed be.